The craziest thing that an NBA player has been charged thousands of dollars for ranges from outside conversations with fans,
You suck!
throwing mouthpieces,
And a foul on Curry, and Curry's going to get it with a technical. He throws his mouthpiece, fouling out of the game.
wearing shoes, or sometimes it's just letting everything go, or even some gestures made when celebrating. And although the reasons behind these fines might seem justifiable, it doesn't make up for the fact that they sometimes run into crazy amounts. And while some NBA players were a bit apologetic about their fines, others would see it as a complete flex.
I am no stranger to fines. I think last tally I was close to $600,000 in fines.
Meanwhile, there are those who genuinely think that the league has gone too far with these fines.
There is no set, you do this, you get this. You do that, you get this. It's all over the place.
It's your boy Louaista, live from Louhoopsta, and today we're gonna go through some of the NBA's craziest fines. Starting out with the fine that the NBA community felt like was far from enough. During his short yet explosive career with the Chicago Bulls, Derrick Rose became the youngest player to win an MVP in NBA history. But after suffering a series of injuries, he was forced to dial back his aggressive style, leading to a decline in his performance, and thus becoming a serious concern for the franchise, as they became unsure if the former league MVP still had what it takes to lead them to a championship. After the team decided they were better off without him, they began shopping him to any franchise willing to take a chance on the wounded Bull. Soon after, the New York Knicks took that chance, trading for Derrick Rose in the final year of his contract, forcing Chicago fans to say goodbye to a hometown legend. With his future uncertain, Derrick played like a man with something to prove, desperate to show that he still had it. But in January 2017, during a game against the Pelicans, Rose suddenly went AWOL, vanishing without warning and leaving the Knicks helpless in a 110-96 loss. Not even his closest teammates knew why.
I don't really want to talk too much about it because I don't really know what the situation is. Obviously, Derek's one of our better players, and when he's not here, it's tough.
And when the media kept asking serious questions, it turns out that he never informed his coach as well.
Right now we don't have enough information to really give you anything, so that's just going to have to wait until we hear something from Derek himself.
However, in less than 24 hours, Derek showed up at the team facility, explaining the cause for his absence.
What can you tell us about yesterday?
That was a family issue. For one, it had nothing to do with the team or basketball, but that's the first time I ever felt like that emotionally, and I had to be with my family.
Even though he might have truly been dealing with some serious personal issues, it's hard to ignore the fact that he violated the NBA rule, which states that absence without prior notification is subject to discipline, or in this case, a ridiculous fine of $200,000. While that might seem like a substantial amount of money for missing just one game, some NBA fans felt like he deserved even worse. Keep treating fans as fools with money, and someday you won't have much. Really? A fine? Dude should be on the bench for the next 3 games. From the fans' perspective, it would have been understandable if he needed a break because of an injury, but suddenly disappearing on your team with no heads up was irreconcilable. But when it comes to breaking the league rules, one man has mastered this. In November 2021, after the Lakers hit a big 3 which helped them bag a win against the Indiana Pacers, LeBron would mistakenly do a taunt that would get him in trouble.
James guarded by Turner. 3.
I didn't think it's this side of the floor, that left side. And he needs to get a...
In a testament to how soft times have become, this move riled up some people who thought it was a bit much, coming from a man who is the face of the league. Even the OG Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was out here sharing his distaste.
For me, winning is enough. Why do you need to do a stupid, childish dance and disrespect the other team on the court? It doesn't make sense. Goats don't dance.
Furthermore, James was fined $15,000 after making this inappropriate celebration gesture. But when you consider what LeBron dealt with in the game after this, you would be celebrating too, because that fine was nothing compared to what came next. His biggest penalty yet after he got into it with Isaiah Stewart. Just the night after, the Lakers were in Detroit to face the Pistons. in what would become one of the most unforgettable games for all the wrong reasons. The incident unfolded midway through the third quarter. While players were lining up for a free throw, LeBron and Stewart got tangled up during a routine box out, and things went downhill fast.
You saw Zach LaVine light him up, then Giannis, and then tonight it's their #1 guy, Jeremy Grant.
Unfortunately, what should have been a harmless shove turned into a whole lethal blow, and the whole situation instantly escalated.
Uh-oh, Stewart and LeBron. Stewart is hot, and everybody's coming out now. Look, here goes Stewart.
The blow left Stewart severely wounded in the eye, and almost immediately, his calm demeanor flipped. Fans watched in disbelief as Stewart tried to bulldoze his way through everyone just to get to LeBron.
The free throw. Oh, they're trying to get loose. He is knocking over. I mean, this is like he's running through the line.
Now, some fans commended Stewart for trying so hard to get to LeBron for payback. I would recruit him in the NFL if he'd get banned from the NBA. The sheer strength of this guy is unbelievable. He elbowed the f out of him. The announcer talking about, "That's crazy. I'd be going for blood too." But of course, a couple of days later, the NBA reached a final verdict, which involved Stewart getting suspended for 2 games and LeBron receiving a 1-game suspension. And this turned out to be his first suspension in his 19-year career, costing him $200,000 in fines. However, you don't always need physical contact to catch a fine in the NBA, which is exactly the case with Jaylen Brown. Best known as a star player for the Boston Celtics in his two-way play on the court, Jaylen Brown proved to be an outstanding NBA player who garnered the attention of both the NBA community and his teammates as well.
His physical presence on the defensive end for us, offensively, offensive rebounding, doing all the hustle, dirty work plays, has been great for us.
Plus, the life Jaylen had outside of the court made it clear that people were rooting for him.
Jaylen Brown has a really strong emphasis on school and education, and I think he finds a way to make it fun. These shoes, for example, were actually gifts from him I got last summer.
At this point, it's obvious that Brown wasn't known for any sort of violence, both on and off the court. Well, not until the Celtics-Pistons game in 2024, when he pulled up an unexpected gesture after a crazy play.
6-second split, game clock and shot clock. Holland's got to be careful not pick up his third, and Brown just put beef stew in the rim. The grave digger.
If this was someone like Gilbert Arenas, it might have been understandable, but for Jaylen Brown, it was absolutely shocking for fans. In Jaylen's defense, he would claim that he did it in the heat of the moment, and not exactly to spite anyone or look cool.
The dunk on Stewart, usually doing the seatbelt thing now, but you did the throat slash. Can you talk about what brought that on?
Just caught up in the moment, I guess. Big play. I think that the NBA and the PA are, sensitive about the gestures and things like that, so gotta be mindful of that.
However, when he was asked about the consequences of the gesture, he couldn't help but to admit that he was probably cooked.
You expecting to hear from them, the league, maybe on that?
Oh yeah.
Brown ended up getting slammed with a $25,000 fine, which led many people quick to call the NBA soft for it. Boring ass league. This league is so soft. That was cold. They wonder why ratings are down, can't show any emotion or have fun. But while his fine came from a heated moment in the middle of a game, there was one NBA legend whose fine didn't even involve trash talk or gestures. Instead, it all started with something so simple, yet it made him a legend. Everyone knows the NBA has rules in place to keep a certain image alive. And back in the 80s, these rules were expected to be followed at all costs. However, in October of 1984, Michael Jordan would sign a deal with Nike, which gave him an opportunity to do something unexpected. See, part of the agreement that MJ had with Nike allowed him to have his own sneaker line, which were the Air Jordan 1s. Back then, the NBA policy stated that players must wear shoes that not only matched their uniforms, but also be 51% white. And Air Jordan 1s tanked the second rule. Shockingly, MJ still wore a pair of Jordan 1s to the game, completely ignoring the league's policy at the time. And this behavior eventually landed him a $5,000 fine, which many thought would force the Chicago Star to back down. Instead, MJ would make a joke out of the situation.
Coloring, what rule do we violate here?
Well, it doesn't have any white in it.
From that point on, he wore a pair of Jordan 1s to every single game, and also continued paying the fines that followed. While many saw it as mere stubbornness, which might be expected from someone on his way to becoming the GOAT. It turned out to be a crazy marketing stunt, as the band Jordan 1s would go on to sell over 1 million pairs and become iconic in the hoop community. Eventually, the Jordan-Nike collaboration would pave the way for the promotion of basketball culture across the globe, and the fruits of that ended up making MJ a billionaire. So if you asked Jordan if getting fined $5,000 per game was worth it, he'd probably laugh in your face and wipe his tears with dollar bills. Nowadays, in the NBA, it'd be ridiculous to fine someone for wearing colored shoes. But what happens when you get fined for trying to uphold justice during an actual game? Mostly known for his jovial and funny personality, Jokic has proven to be an all-star loved by fans. But beneath the jokes and giggles, there is a part of Jokic that no one knew so much about, a part of him far more sinister than what meets the eye. See, every NBA player who knows Jokic really well knows best not to mess with him on the court. The reason for this is due to the fact that Jokic isn't the type of player to let anything slide, and most times, he just does it out of reflex, which was exactly the case during Game 4 of the second round of the 2023 NBA playoffs, where Nikola could be seen clearly trying to retrieve the ball from the crowd. However, what he didn't expect was that the Phoenix Suns owner Matt Ishbia would refuse to let go after getting a hold of the ball.
Kogi landing, that's what happened there. Jokic, boy.
In order to get the ball back, Jokic would forcefully pry the ball from Matt. And what makes this even worse is the fact that Matt would try to stand up to Jokic like he wasn't just caught obstructing the game, which caused Jokic to shove him back to his seat. It wouldn't be a stretch to assume that Matt felt really embarrassed at the moment, but as you already know, Jokic just stood there like nothing even happened. However, with how the NBA operates, everyone pretty much expected Jokic to get hit with heavy consequences like an ejection, especially because it was such a high-profile individual. Surprisingly, he would walk away with just a tech for the incident, and the game just went on. But that piece was short-lived, because almost immediately after the game, Jokic would be hit with a $25,000 fine. This caused an uproar with many fans calling it unfair, including the guy who was the victim in the case. Suspending or fining anyone over last night's incident would not be right. I have a lot of respect for Jokic and don't want to see anything like that. Many fans supported Matt for not escalating the issue. The rest called his bluff, blaming him for the entire situation. Your flop, making it seem like a hard shove, is the only reason it's an issue. Last night's incident was 100% your fault. You go into a jump ball tussle with the two-time MVP during a playoff game. Grow up. Despite Matt's stand and public opinion, the $25,000 fine from the NBA still stood. Now, it's totally up to you to decide whether it was fair that Jokic got fined, even after Matt publicly stated that he wanted the opposite. But one incident that really got the fans divided was the case where the player who paid the price wasn't even on the court that night. It all goes back to the year 2020 and the devastating losses that came with it, as people lost friends, family, and loved ones to the Rona. It just so happened that Jusuf Nurkic had lost someone really close to him. But despite how heartbreaking this was for him, he did his best to overcome the grief so he could perform well on the court. However, fast forward 2 years, and an insensitive fan thought it was a bright idea to joke about it, which caused Nurkic to step up in a way that the NBA wouldn't like. After this incident, Nurkic was fined $40,000 for damages, while the fan who was responsible for the altercation walked away scot-free. Later, it would come to light that the fan allegedly made several disrespectful statements at Nurkic, calling his mom trash and his grandma a bitch. While most NBA fans felt Nurkic did the right thing, pointing out that the NBA should have punished the fan instead. Some fans suggested that he should have kept things under control. So what? He gets paid tens of millions of dollars to have a level of decorum that comes with being a professional athlete. You don't get to assault someone just because they called your dead grandma a bitch. But by this time, it was already too late for anything to change. As undeserving as this seemed, it comes nowhere near the player who got fined just for standing up for his teammate. During Game 1 of the Timberwolves versus the Lakers playoff series in April 2025, the star shooter for the Minnesota Timberwolves, Anthony Edwards, could be seen seated on the announcer's table talking with his teammates. However, this moment was short-lived, as Lakers fans would suddenly start saying things about his teammate Rudy Gobert. Considering Ant-Man's temperament, he wasn't just going to sit by and let this slide. This one-sided slander got Anthony riled up, eventually causing him to clap back at the Lakers fanboy. Realizing that wasn't enough to get the Lakers fans to keep calm, Anthony would go ahead and make a bold gesture, which got the attention of the league. To sum it all up, Anthony was fined $50,000 for telling a fan how big his wiener was. Although it might seem like he only did this just to stand up for his teammate, this isn't the first time Ant-Man has been fined for being a bit vulgar. According to reports, Ant-Man made a comment in a now deleted video of some men in a certain type of clothing on his IG saying, "Look what the world done came to." Even though he later apologized, he was still hit with a $40,000 fine. 2 years later, he would be fined $25,000 for cussing on TV, and just a few weeks after that, he would be fined another $100,000 for cussing out the refs after the game.
They're fucking terrible. Yeah, all of them. Besides the woman. Yeah, but the other two dudes, terrible. Excuses, the reason they call a foul, the reason they don't call a foul, the shit was terrible. They don't want to talk back to my coach, they don't want to talk back to me. I said one thing to the ref, he gave me a tech. Motherfucker told one of my teammates, if I would have said y'all calling the bad foul, he wouldn't have gave me a tech. Niggas, they just sensitive.
While Ant-Man might keep getting fined for his choice of words, another player who found himself in a series of fines from habits he couldn't shake is Steph Curry. In his early days, Steph Curry faced a serious challenge that could have ended with him being a clown show in the NBA. Although Steph knew what the problem was, it proved really difficult for him to overcome. You see, each time Steph made a run while in possession of the ball, he always made a turnover. Initially, no one really thought much about it until he kept doing it over and over again.
In transition, maybe trying to get a little too fancy, tries to go behind his back.
1 minute he's in possession of the ball, the next, the opponent would either have the ball or it's out of bounds. Steph was averaging 3 turnovers per game, and the underlying effects of these turnovers not only got to his teammates, but also fans who stated, most of these aren't even impressive steals for the opponent, he just gifts it to them. Curry has a bad habit of being careless with his passes. This unpleasant idea about how Steph handles his passes also extended to others who openly called out Steph for his absurd amount of turnovers during games.
And I mean, it said that he had 4 turnovers. It felt like 10, to be quite honest with you. I agree. Because the turnovers that he had, how are you going to throw a behind-the-back pass on the right sideline? I'm talking about momentum stalling turnovers. What are you doing? I mean, Cleveland is making a run. You stop them, then you come back at them, and you're making a run. And somehow, some way, you turn the ball over. You get stripped. You lose the ball handle. You throw ill-advised passes. You're joking around with the basketball.
However, Steph knew he needed to figure out how to overcome this. Otherwise, it could spell the end of his career. Noticing how much of an issue this was for her son, Steph's mom, Sonia Curry, came up with a genius plan to help him get over this issue. "I have a bet with my mom that involves a little money, and if I have too many turnovers, she gets in my pocket. I'm afraid of that for sure." Thus, his mom reportedly made a sum total of $7,600 from Steph, with the highest bag being made off a single game with 11 turnovers, amounting to $800, which might be considered as a little price to pay for trying to win by any means necessary. But over the years, Steph has garnered even more fines for one annoying habit that he just couldn't shake. In Game 6 of the 2016 NBA Finals, Steph had 6 fouls called on him, and according to his coach Steve Kerr, 3 of them were absolutely ridiculous. And it got so bad that the Golden State MVP completely lost it on the court.
Thompson able to get that deflected rebound. And a foul on Curry, and Curry's going to get it with a technical. Close his mouthpiece after fouling out of the game.
After tossing his mouthguard at a fan, Steph was ejected from the game for the first time in his career. But he would later apologize to the public, saying, "I've thrown my mouthpiece before. I usually aim it at the scorer's table. I was off aim. Definitely didn't mean to throw it at a fan. That was obviously not where I was trying to take my frustration out." The NBA still hit him with another $25,000 fine regardless. And just a year later, during the 3rd game of the season, the 2-time MVP did it again.
Curry lost him and got all the way to the cup. Oh, he's got to be technical. He's got to be thrown out. Wow. And Curry has been thrown out of the game.
After launching his mouthpiece at the ref, Steph would be kicked out of the game. In his defense, he could claim that things didn't exactly turn out the way he intended. "I didn't throw my mouthpiece at the ref. I got better aim than that. I threw it out of frustration." However, he would later admit he might have made a mistake with such a reaction. "I was frustrated because I was fouling, and I thought I got fouled on the last play." And because of this incident, Curry haters would come out in their droves to bash Curry for his reaction. Little bitch throwing a fit. Man up already. What a baby. LeBron would never do that. What was Curry crying about? There's clearly no foul on the play. Bunch of babies. However, the NBA would deal the final blow by slapping the Golden State MVP with a fine of 50 racks. After apologizing to fans multiple times, Curry promised this wouldn't ever happen again, which was true for a while until 2023, during another game against the Grizzlies, when his teammate Jordan Poole attempted a three-pointer instead of passing the rock to Steph.
Goes into his move, passes it back out. Let's see where. No, he's mad at Jordan Poole. You saw him slump his shoulders, and he throws his moves. Oh, that's why.
This time, the Warrior star would get hit with a $25,000 control fine for hurling his mouthpiece into the stands. While Steph got his fines from his off-guard reactions in the heat of the moment, there are some players who are completely aware of what their reactions represent, like Ja Morant. During a close game against the Miami Heat in April of 2025, Ja knocked down a couple of shots and pulled out his invisible blicks to celebrate. While this might not seem like much to the ordinary Joe, the NBA had already warned him earlier that same week for doing the exact same thing with Buddy Hield in a game against the Warriors.
Morant had some form of gesture there. You can make that what you want.
And even legends like Shaquille O'Neal were against the act.
Because of his past discrepancies, he should not be doing that. However, it's a gesture that a lot of people do. Does he know better? Yes, but listen, Buddy Hield did it. A lot of other people do it. I see people at AAU games do it. It's just one of those NBA ebonic gestures. It's just a gesture that we sometimes use. But because of his past discrepancies, he should not be doing that. Because my question is, if he didn't have those two incidents and he did that, would we be talking about it? The answer is no, we would not be talking about it.
However, Ja didn't care. He would go on to repeat the gesture 2 more times. The very next day, the NBA hit him with a $75,000 fine for ignoring their warning. And let's be real, considering his appearance with a blick in the club back in 2023, the league wasn't about to let this one slide. While Ja's crazy gestures on the court cost him some money, one player who didn't even need to be near the court to lose a crazy bag in fines was Vladimir Radmanovic. During the 2007 All-Star break, when players were expected to take some time to recover, Radmanovic was resting up for the Lakers while fans eagerly waited for what would unfold after the break. But little did we know that Radmanovic had other plans, because instead of taking the break as expected, he somehow thought it was a good idea to go snowboarding. Now, I know this might sound like a great way to let off some steam. The problem is, the NBA contract straight up banned risky activities like skiing and snowboarding, because one wipeout could cost the team millions, and that was exactly what happened to Radmanovic. After separating his shoulder and missing 25 NBA games, the Lakers started asking questions, to which he replied, "I slipped on some ice." However, that lie lasted only a couple of days before guilt caught up with him. He finally admitted to management that he'd been snowboarding. First of all, I'd like to apologize to my teammates, coaches, Lakers management, and the Lakers fans for initially lying about the circumstances of the injury to my shoulder last weekend. I'd like to, however, come forward and set the record straight this time. The truth is that I hurt myself in a fall while snowboarding. Now, technically, they should have voided his entire $30 million contract. Instead, they hit him with a $500,000 fine, which was 10% of his yearly $5.2 million salary, and one of the biggest off-court penalties in NBA history. Radmanovic didn't fight it. Rather, he called it fair and just focused on healing. Meanwhile, his teammates clowned him non-stop, with nicknames like Salone Vlad and Halfpipe, which are names related to snowboarding competitions. While 500 racks might sound like a huge fine, one player whose fines made it look like pocket change is Draymond Green. Honestly, he deserves his own personal chapter in the league's fine history books, because he plays defense so hard that you would think he was getting a paycheck for every tech he picks up. But Draymond's story goes beyond being physical, as his whole career is filled with chaos, controversy, and of course, fines that would make your wallet cry. His first taste of NBA trouble came in 2013, when he got tossed out of a game for elbowing Blake Griffin, which eventually cost him 15 racks.
Draymond Green and Blake Griffin get tangled up. Green hits Griffin with an elbow to the throat. Watch right.
Fast forward to the 2016 Western Conference Finals. Draymond decided to try out his martial arts bag and ended up kicking Steven Adams right in the family jewels. That move alone cost him $25,000 and officially crowned him as the league's new bad boy, which was the name given to the 80s and 90s Pistons for their aggressive playstyle. And if that wasn't enough, later that same year, Draymond got tangled up with LeBron James in the finals, picking up a flagrant foul that got him suspended for Game 5, which cost him $140,000 in lost salary.
Green and James jawing at each other while play continues. Iguodala the pull-up, that won't go. And a double foul is going to be called. Channing Frye getting...
That suspension didn't just hurt Draymond, it literally flipped the momentum of the entire series, resulting in LeBron and the Cavs making a legendary comeback. From there, the fines started to pile up. Draymond basically became the king of technical fouls, leading or ranking top 2 in the NBA in more than half his seasons. Every time he hit the 16 tech milestone, he would be gifted another suspension. In 2020, he even got slapped with a $50,000 anti-tampering fine for publicly recruiting Devin Booker.
It's great to see Book playing well and Phoenix playing well, but get my man out of Phoenix. It's not good for him. It's not good for his career. Sorry, Chuck, but they got to get Book out of Phoenix. I need my man to go somewhere where he can play great basketball all the time and win, because he's that type of player.
Are you tampering?
Maybe.
But the real madness came later on in 2023 during the playoffs when Draymond stomped on Domantas Sabonis like he was stepping on a Lego in the dark.
Monk puts it up, and Curry's got the board.
This move alone earned him another ejection, a 1-game suspension, and headlines all over the world, while also amounting to $178,000 in lost salary for that game. And just when you thought he couldn't top that, the very next season, he decided to choke out Rudy Gobert in the middle of a game.
Daniels, what is going on with that? Wow. You've got a full-on fracas going on.
But in his defense, he only did this to protect his teammate Klay Thompson, who was being held on chokehold as well. However, his reaction might be considered a little too much, given Draymond's history of violence on the court, so it's hard to say this was truly just to protect his teammate. Regardless, the league hit him with a 5-game suspension for that one. But oh, he wasn't done yet. A month later, Draymond smacked Jusuf Nurkic in the face, which led to a 12-game suspension and even a mandatory league therapy.
2, which would be an ejection. Boy, that is a swipe.
By 2025, all of those techs, ejections, and suspensions have added up to a staggering $2.2 million in fines and counting.